Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the PML N's campaign as it has kick-started after the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab's address when he spoke in Hafsabad. We'll be talking about the manifesto in the form of the speech that came forward in Hafsabad as he and Maryam Nawaz Sharif addressed the crowd that was there in Hafsabad. We'll be talking about the overall plan, it seems, the economic plan that the PML N says it has in store for its people during these elections. We'll also a little later on be talking about the PPP and Bilawal Bhutto Zardari's inroads into Punjab and what it means overall in terms of the party votes and the seat adjustment with Istihkam party, which is also on the cards, and we've seen that on certain seats there seems to be agreement. All of this and its potential ramifications for what kind of an electoral result we can expect, well, nearly 15 days from today now. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Irfan Ghauri, who is a senior analyst. Thank you for joining us today. A little later on, we'll also be joined by other guests. I'm going to start off with Irfan Saab here. Irfan Saab, overall, we saw the rally in Hafsabad. Of course, it seems to have been a quite sizable one. We also saw the former Prime Minister and Maryam Nawaz speak to the people. In the form, what Nawaz Sharif Saab seems to be saying is he talks about what he brought to the people earlier on during the time that he was in power. He talked about motorway, he talked about, people, the jobs, the opportunities, and what the PMLN has stood for. Overall, as far as the address is concerned, it wasn't a very long one. How do you look at it?
Thank you, Marukh. First thing is that, the people were waiting that any of the big parties, especially the PMLN, they were yet to start their election campaign. So, which is officially it has begun. And Nawaz Sharif Saab's address, though it was short, and still they are working on their manifesto, but it seems that the narrative that they are going to build, that would be mainly focused on development. And I think this was and this has been their
consistent
narrative plus this was their strong point actually, except that 13 months that the PMLN, the previous, the previous term of the PMLN led coalition government, but other than that, they have this plus point where they have, if you go for grandiose projects, the infrastructure projects, the bridges, the motorways and those things, those have been their main strong point, and this is, I think, would be the point that would be the focus of their election campaign.
They're saying instead of anything new, what they're saying is that this is what we brought to the people during our last tenure, and this is what we want to build upon. So it's very clear in that sense.
And there is need for that because we see the economy, the way the economy is going on.
And he also talked about, I'm going to interject here and go to, we also have other guests, Zahid Gishkori, who's a senior analyst, and Aniq Zafar, who is also a political analyst. Thank you so much for being with us. Irfan, before I go back to you, Irfan Saab, I'm going to go to Zahid Saab. Zahid Saab, we are here talking about what was said by the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab in Hafsabad. He talked about the rally, during the rally, he talked about what the PMLN has done, and he talked about what they have brought for the people during their last tenures. To what end do you see this start of the campaign, and how do you look at the way that he was greeted overall, the warmth, the way that the crowd reacted to his presence? How do you look at all that?
I see that it's sort of a extremely slow start by the former Prime Minister, and we have little time to go. Otherwise, and two young politicians like Maryam Nawaz Sharif and Bilawal Bhutto Zardari are trying to engage voters and mobilizing their followers. particularly Bilawal, is go ahead, because I think Bilawal is mobilizing voters, and he has done in 17 cities of Pakistan in the past 6 months. But he seems struggling, trying to get momentum. On the other side, Maryam Nawaz Sharif is also mobilizing crowd and voters in different parts of Punjab, but Bilawal is doing across Pakistan. And when it
Right.
comes to your question about Nawaz Sharif, who is now dreaming for the fourth time as a prime minister in the country, and perhaps the most uh, uh, very most wanted politician, and the experience as well
Right.
to get
So
the
he's
country
talking
out of
about
crisis.
experience. That's I'll come back to you on that note. We also have with us Said Nosheen Iftikhar, who is from the PMLN, of course. Nosheen, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Marukh, I can.
Nosheen, there is, as far as the PMLN is concerned, particularly the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab, there is a clear, your party is saying that during the last 10 years, Pakistan was on its way to achieving a lot in terms of the development, in terms of employment, in terms of what it was, for on the economic front, and you want to do more of that. There's not a formal manifesto, though, in the field yet. Are we going to be looking at a formal manifesto soon?
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Thank you very much, Marukh, for having me on the show today. And please bear me for my bad throat. Exactly, Marukh. I actually believe that through visionary and ideas translated into bold initiatives and hard work, PMLN government has not only steered the ship away from the wreck in the last previous years where Pakistan was actually prospering, but also set a new direction of growth, prosperity, security, and strengthened the democracy as well. Where there was zero load shedding, end of terrorism, and continuous growth of infrastructural development. And I think it will remain the central tenet of PMLN mission again. I think that we have actually prioritized for the human development, water scarcity, food security, and most importantly, elevating the poverty and improving the lives of common man again in the manifesto this time.
But are you going to be looking? Are we going to be looking at a formal manifesto also, or that's not? I mean, it is what you are saying, which is what you're going to hold by.
I believe that when actually Mia Mohammad Nawaz Sharif Prime Minister for in 2013, we have a long table where we actually Pakistan has a growth, and it was economic growth. It was a stable Pakistan. It was like a terror-free Pakistan. So actually, I believe that we are waiting for Prime Minister Mia Mohammad Nawaz Sharif to become the Prime Minister of the fourth time, and we are looking for the prosperous Pakistan again.
What would you say, Nosheen, to what the PPP is saying? Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, when he talks about, it seems to be a criticism about the former Prime Minister that he is going to be the fourth time PM. How does the PMLN respond to this?
See, I will only say that, Marukh, when we were in a coalition government, we were aligned together, and PPP took maximum benefits it can take from the PDM government. So I believe that whatever he is saying is just faking in the air, and it won't help PP in Punjab. You know that Punjab has been a stronghold of PMLN always, and undoubtedly this time we will again clean sweep Punjab.
Nosheen, do you think, I mean, in terms of the seat adjustment that is being talked about with Iftikhar party, is that something that now formally has been agreed about? What is the PMLN stance on this?
See, this is all leadership decision, which I believe that what will be best for Pakistan would be taken out from the party and the leadership.
Fair enough. Maryam Nawaz also spoke in Hafsabad. She talked about how, resignations that have followed and perhaps more will follow. The fact that these are resignations that are coming from, not a good place. People who have, of course, conspired against the former Prime Minister. Is it going to be, are you expecting more resignations? Are you expecting perhaps, a more clear field now? Of course, we're very close to the elections.
See, Marukh, I believe that everyone will come to a conclusion that after the jalsas of Mia Mohammad Nawaz Sharif, it's been very clear that masses are actually with Mia Mohammad Nawaz Sharif, and the decisions which were made earlier by the authorities now, they actually have been proved wrong. So I believe that justice is very important. Justice is very important for everyone, every designatory who has created a atmosphere of denial or agony in this country against the Prime Minister.
There is, by and large agreement, and I think the PMLN also agrees that there is going to be need for a lot of reform. We saw the last government led by the PTI. Unfortunately, they came in with a lot of mantra of reform. Whether we talk about the judicial reform, whether we talk about economic reform, reform on all sides. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. That didn't pan out. But for that, you will need to work with other political parties also, or the PMLN will have to have that kind of majority that it doesn't necessarily need other political parties.
See, we are always ready. Always we are always open for the other parties to come and talk about the which are favorable for the country and for the nation, not just for the parties. Because Human Party has always given a leverage can come up with their vision, their improvements and which are helpful for improving the country.
Right, fair enough. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nosheen, for your very valuable time. Aniq Sahib, you heard what Nosheen also said in terms of the kick-starting of the PMLN's campaign. She also said that, it's clearly, it's very clear for the PMLN. They're saying that they're going to do more of what they've done earlier on. How easy is it going to be to do what the PMLN had set out to do? And according to Mariam Nawaz, when she said that, there was, of course, the former Prime Minister was interrupted numerous times. But now, so many years later, with so much more that has happened, how easy and how difficult is it going to be to set the country again on that same path? Aniq Sahib, can you hear me? You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Marukh. First thing first, I think most political parties in Pakistan, when they are contesting elections, they are high on promises and short on substance. That is across the board. This time around, PMLN's election platform is their past performance. The past performance they are talking about is from 13 to 17, because by 18, as most economic analysts would agree, that by 18, that momentum of progress had started to slow down. There are multiple reasons for that. We can go into that debate some other time. But the truth is that PMLN does have a platform right now, but going forward in the future, are they going to do the same? And what and where will the financing for that kind of spending will come in? We very well know that 13 to 17, there was a pump in because of CPAC. There was a pump in of funding, and that was fueling import growth. By 2018 had created a large current account deficit. This point apart,
so you're saying
obviously,
the realities of today are very different from the realities of what they were earlier on. And of course, whichever party now comes into power has to work with those realities. Let me come back to you on that note, Aniq Sahib. I'm going to go to Zahid Sahib. Zahid Sahib, what does it look like as far as Punjab is concerned? When there was a Jalsa today of the PPP also in the south, and there is overall, if you look at what's happening in terms of momentum, Hafsabad seems to be a sizable one. What are you looking at in terms of what kind of a party position we can expect?
In politics and can you hear me, Maro?
Loud and clear now.
As you know, that Punjab always plays vital role in Pakistan politics, and particularly to form the government in the center. And this time, the political party's position in Punjab is that PMLN keeps dominating in the province. Reasons are certain, And I will try to have a comparison, short comparison of three big political parties in the Punjab. Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz fielded 29% fresh candidate for National Assembly in the Punjab. For the National Assembly candidates. And Pakistan People's Party, by and large, trying to get momentum in the province, but they, I think, at the number two. And otherwise, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf fielded 69% absolute fresh candidate for the National Assembly seats. The reason is that 73% candidates and former member National Assembly of this political parties left the party and they have joined other political parties. So it means that for the first time in the previous, if you just compare the last three elections, and this time I can see as a reporter, and I have the research on three political parties candidate, that the second largest parliamentary force would perhaps be depending on the independent candidate. Independent
But Zahid,
winners
we don't know if it's going to be in, I mean, they are independent, but then the position as far as the Election Commission is concerned, when they say that they haven't formally delisted PTI. So whether they can join other parties or not, I mean, there doesn't seem to be a lot of clarity on that issue at this time. Isn't that true?
It's a legal debate and a separate debate, but it's at the moment it looks like that PTI all backed candidate would contest election, either they win or lose as an independent candidate. It doesn't matter that that's why I'm saying this, that independent could be the second largest force in the parliament, and post election scenario would be a different. No doubt that it looks like that maybe more than 50 or 45 independent candidates could make their way to the parliament, because if you look into the statistics issued by the Election Commission of Pakistan, 4,200 independent candidates are contested election for the National Assembly this time, and 120
I think that's very interesting.
are
That's very interesting. What, you know, as far as when you say that it's about independent candidates, and you know, this might be a new force in the next elections. Let me come back to you on that. I'm going to go to Zahid Saab on this. Zahid Saab, I think sorry, I'm going to go to Irfan Saab. What Zahid Saab said. Irfan Saab, it's interesting, right? I mean, if we're going to be looking at whether, but the question is, are they going to be independent in the sense that are they going to be able to join other political parties? If they are actually members of PTI with or without the symbol, then they can't join another political party, because that would be against the law.
This is legal question, of course, and Zahid was giving, I mean, Zahid was giving a quite interesting analysis that many of them, especially, I mean, from PTI, they would be the new faces, number one. Other thing is that, as per the previous practice, what we had seen is that it is very difficult when the people who are elected, you know, independents, usually what happens is that they
have to join.
They usually join the ruling side, ruling party, or the majority party, or the party, you know, which is making government. This is what happens. The other, I mean, drawback that PTI might face is, I mean, that's again, you know, PTI is saying that there will be some, you know, they would be contesting on that the reserve seats, because they also matter. You know, when you are in assembly, the numbers, they matter.
Any seat matters.
And be it reserve seat or, you know, it's, so that would also be, you know, something that is that would be a legal question.
So
now.
there are questions that are already, you know,
yes,
so we don't know clarity.
We don't know the clarity
on these issues.
I mean, one of the reasons that I think these elections, one was the uncertainty that, you know, from different segments, that would the elections be held, and this and that. The other thing is, and this was one of the reasons that we don't see that sort of campaigning and electioneering that we usually used to, you know, discuss here in these programs, you know. One reason was that, I mean, of course, the uncertainty, and the other is that since PTI, it's not it would have been better if they would have been, in the field. That would have been a different scenario. But in current situation, PMLN certainly would be having edge, that is for certain. But I mean, when it comes to independence, this is the statistics that Zahid was mentioning, that I mean, the number of people who are contesting, and many of them, though fresh faces, but I mean, since they have a very sizable vote bank, especially in the urban areas. Rural areas is always a different scenario where, electables and those people, they matter. But Pakistan's dynamics have been changing, and youth vote, this time the youth vote, that has further increased. The people who are from 18 to 35, that percentage has also increased. So how that would matter? The other thing would be on election day, the turnout, how the people, because sometimes when we have seen that the turnout is I mean, it's better.
It will have a lot of course. I mean, a bigger turnout would mean a lot. Would mean a lot of change.
Lots of changes. Yes. Yeah, that would matter. So there are so many things that are yet to be seen. But most challenging, I think, is that which Aniq Zafar was also mentioning, and I think this is a question that whichever party that would come to power, it's not only that till now, if PMLN is still finalizing their manifestos, I mean, building a narrative is a different thing. But I mean, people would, and we don't have that much time left now that we would be able to, that if you don't have an economic plan, proper economic plan, then the inflation here, the economic activity is already, it's really low in the region. If you look all around the region. So in such a situation, I think it will be a daunting task for whichever the party would be coming to power, unless they have some concrete plans.
To actually deliver.
And in this scenario of 2013 and today is much different. At that time, we didn't have that much dependence on IMF and others. And
let me go to Aniq Zafar. Aniq Zafar, can you hear me? Aniq Zafar, please unmute.
Yes.
Aniq Zafar, yes, we talk about, of course, as Zahid Sahab said, having independent candidates, and what kind of a force they may amount to, and their legal status with regard to what the Election Commission says, and with regard to the seats overall. At this time, as far as manifesto, even though the PMLN doesn't have a formal manifesto, they do have a clear stance that they are putting forward. They are saying that they're going to be doing again more of the same, like Nosheen also said. They were interrupted, the former Prime Minister said, and as far as building infrastructure is concerned, as far as economy is concerned, that. And as far as the PPP is concerned, mainly, he's talking about the fact that it's to give a new person, in this instance an old party, but a new person a chance. Am I right?
Yes, largely their campaign slogan is Chuno Nayi Soch Ko. So that means that they are now talking about adopting some fresh thought into the state, into the governance matters of the state. That is their platform. That is the sort of argument they are trying to build. Coming back to the point of independence, that very much will be a key deciding factor in which party forms the government. My view so far is that since there will be around 3 to 4 days for the independents to decide which party they want to join. So I am not sure that whether PTI will have time to go to the court in those 3 days if their candidates, if the candidates who win on their with their backings decide to move and join some other parties, because my understanding on the basic law seems that only those candidates are considered part of a party who contest on one symbol. If you are contesting on multiple symbols, that does not mean that you are contesting on the platform of a party.
That I think there has been some clarification from the Election Commission, and I mean anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but from my take, they've said that there is, they haven't delisted the party. So what they mean by that, and the legal clarification of what this means for the party, its reserved seats, for their overall status, and whether their people can actually join or not, I think is something that we will have to wait a clarification from the court on. Zahid Saab?
Yeah, the court or the election commission has said that this is something that their legal department will be seized with when the when the issue comes up. Leaving that debate apart, whether when will that be done? Obviously, the point remains that those independents will be a major factor in deciding which party is going to make the government.
But let me include you, Aniq Saab, let me include Zahid Saab in this also. Zahid Saab, do you see that, we talk about the new voter, we talk about the young voter, the new voter, and what will appeal to that voter. We talk about the vote bank of, parties like, for example, the PTI, and whether they do have that vote bank or not. But how much, as far as in your experience as a journalist, how much can you put in stock in for this vote bank that this particular party was alluding to earlier on, because the surveys seem to indicate something else. How do you look at that?
Marukh, 4 points are very important. I want to share with you at this platform. Around 50 million voters having age of 18 or more than around 29. So almost 21 million voters would be casting their vote for the first time. It looks like if the young people come out on the election and polling day, then there could be a possibility and surprising result could come up anywhere in Pakistan. But one thing is more important, because as I told you, the independent are fighting against the 4,826, 4,800 plus, who are representing different political parties. And Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf remains quite full that they could get their candidate in different part of the country. If they win, then they could represent the party. It's a legal question, obviously, but one thing should be loud and clear, and it looks like that once an independent candidate, it doesn't matter that wins the elections, as Irfan Saab said, the most seasoned journalist here in our panel, I endorse his viewpoint that they usually join the ruling club. And this time, I told you that.
You don't think there's any ideology behind it, but barring, of course, that the fact that if you contest from a particular party, then you cannot join another party. That's also a condition.
Tehreek-e-Insaf platform, and they are absolutely new, having no credential of parliamentary politics, and from each constituency, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf having more than 3 candidates, and we don't know that who represent in a real sense, as our colleague panelist Aniq Zafar said, rightly pointed out that we don't know that either he or she stand by the party if he or she wins the election. It's a very debatable thing, and party of course have short time to tell all these things, but the figures.
Perhaps we will have a clarification from the Election Commission sooner. I mean, that's also possible.
No, I think it's still the elections, are held. It would also depend if PMLN, supposed PMLN doesn't need the support of independence. If it is that situation, the situation would be different. But if it is a situation
it depends how
where
sizable a chunk.
Sizable, yes, and if in case, I mean, if it's they get lesser seats and they don't have a simple majority, so they would, of course, and this is the pattern which we had seen, in the past, that those
But
And that shows, you know, when PMLN
but
is
Irfan
making.
Sahib, earlier there wasn't a legal bar. Now there is a legal bar that if you contest
So
from a
that is-
particular
that-
party, then you can't join.
Marukh, that is when you contest from a political party's platform. Here,
They're contesting
delisting a party is a different thing.
Okay, okay.
But if I claim, and I'm an independent, I have been allotted a telephone symbol. So this is a symbol for any, you know, independent candidate. So I have the choice to join. That is what the independents mean. They don't. They are not from any party's platform. So though a legal question, but
it
usually,
looks like it's
you
going
know,
to be
it
another
is,
issue for the Supreme Court in the
yes,
future.
maybe,
Perhaps. You know, but overall, in terms of Zahid Sahib, when we talk about the young voter, we talk about what do you think is going to appeal to that young voter more? Because, you know, we've seen in the past a particular political party that came in with a slogan of change didn't really work that well in the recent past. Do you think the newness of a certain party or a party head is going to appeal versus the experience, which is what it seems to be about, you know, with the PPP and the PML N at this time?
Mark, you are referring to me right now?
Ji Zahid Sahib.
Okay, Zahid.
Marukh, first very important point that there is an order of the court that if you remember that around 22 member parliament of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, they elected on the PTI ticket and then they joined the opposition in the parliament and they could not vote due to certain reason because they were elected on a party ticket. And this time the situation is clear. Party is not delisted, it's true, but dissolved. And now the party would go for inter-party election again in the past, perhaps maybe in coming weeks, and then there would come a new situation for the party. It looks like that independent would be free to join any political party. I don't see any legal bar, by the way, at this stage of time.
That's
because
your opinion, Zahid Sahib. That's fair enough. And I mean, maybe there isn't a legal bar, and we don't know. I mean, depends on the clarity of it and the election commission. But what do you think is going to appeal to the people? Aniq Sahib, what do you think is going to appeal to that young voter, the new or the experienced, saying that this is what we did and this is what we're going to do, more of this is what we will bring you that you saw? What do you think is going to matter more to the young voter?
I think what is most important for the campaign of all these political parties is that how can they give this nation some hope? Hope is what is missing in this country right now. People are suffering from inflation, from slowing down of economy, and all kind and breakdown of services infrastructure, health, education. Everything has become very expensive for the people. So how are these parties going to give hope? The party that is going to give hope is going to win. I Obviously there is a general or large consensus that somehow the youth voter is going to only vote one way, only for one party. I do not agree with that. I think other mainstream parties have an equal chance to attract these voters if they are able to give a message of hope.
I think that's very interesting. When you say a message of hope, I think that really resonates with everyone, and it should resonate with the people of Pakistan also. But the question is, what these political parties are saying across the board, all political parties, Irfan Sahib, are they giving that message of hope? Are they not saying more of the same? Even when you talk about somebody saying that, you know, for the PPP saying that it's about newness, or, you know, the fact that they haven't been tried before. Isn't it the same?
I think more than that is, you know, giving a message of hope or giving some slogan is a different thing. But I think what we should have been discussing here,
measures,
that was, you know, the concrete plans. You know, when PTI came to power, there were so many promises that were made, and it was the reason that the youth, they felt that hope in that, but they didn't have the plan to implement them. So unfortunately, since none of the governments, they complete their tenure, natural tenure, so we are unable to judge them, and that is the same with the people. But there is a need that these political parties, instead of getting votes on the basis of promises or on the personalities, if it is PTI's former, former chairman, or if it's Nawaz Sharif Saab or PPPs. So, I mean,
it should be based
on that, because this politics which we have seen so far, it's when it's not delivering, the people would be, they
there's
would be
general
losing
despondency. I think that
yes, that there would be, and that would be results in
overall, and it will depend. Zahid Saab, when Aniq Saab talks about hope, and Irfan Saab says that there should be concrete plan. Do you think any political party has put that kind of concrete plan in front of the people yet?
I think somehow PMLN also, gave a plan, but absolutely not a complete format if the party comes into power, and what it would be doing in the first 3 months and 6 months and after a year. And Pakistan People's Party also just gave, I think, somehow a plan of, but it looks like they might not be able to implement it, and other political parties as well, but not as so much as it happened in 2018, because country is facing quite enormous problems and challenges.
The situation is quite different from what it was earlier on. But Zahid Saab, I'm sorry, I'm going to interject. When we say that, Irfan Saab says personalities, an election of personalities, do you think this is a more party-based election than an election of personalities? How, or do you think it's more to do with the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Saab, the former head of PTI, or as far as the PPP is concerned, the campaign being led by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari? Is it that, or do you think it's about personalities, or it's about parties generally?
I think it looks like a party-based election at this stage, but the charm, we don't see, because PTI, the top contender at one stage of time, lost its symbol, and now two political parties remain in the race. So perhaps Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz having an edge with Nawaz Sharif and his daughter, and Shehbaz Sharif. These are three powerful individuals, and as its old team, and party perhaps fielded very strong candidate for the National Assembly across the country. And then Pakistan People's Party also having good team, trying to mobilize its voters across the country. But it looks like the party is struggling in South Punjab, in Upper Punjab, and even in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Yes, they are good in Sindh and in Balochistan somehow. But PTI, is the top tier leadership, is facing different charges and cases. So they are scattered. Otherwise, they fail to give, due to certain reason, very strong unilateral.
Overall, when we look at what is Aniq Saab, what is called the wave, do you think that at this time, as far as I know, it's also not that early, but relatively early, but do you think that it seems to be a wave that seems to indicate that perhaps the PML N has an edge this time?
Well, if there is a wave, we haven't witnessed it as yet, because PMLN started its campaign pretty late in the day. We have seen that Mia Mohammad Nawaz Sharif, former Prime Minister, who is being projected as the next Prime Minister as well, has only addressed one public meeting so far. And in that public meeting also, he relied more on the appeal of his daughter, Maryam Nawaz Sharif. And I was reading somewhere today that his second address in Layya has also been cancelled, and that will also be replaced by someone like Maryam or Shehbaz Sharif himself. Right now, I don't see any wave, but if I look at the list of the candidates, PMLN has been able to put up a really impressive list of candidates in Punjab, at least. Very strong candidates who have good experience of contesting elections, have been in the assemblies in the past. So they have
do what they must on the election day to get the results that they want. I mean, to be candid. Before I go to Zahid Sahab, Irfan Sahab, there is, you know, do you think when we look at whether it's the appeal of Maryam Nawaz herself, or of course one has to agree that the party supremo or the party head, the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif Sahab himself has a lot of appeal for the people that support the PMLN. The question is, when we look at this, the palette at this time, we look at the political parties at this time, leaving the challenges aside, how is it different from the last election?
One thing is that, you know, PMLN had those elections held, you know, after the no confidence against PTI, the situation would have been different. We all knew how popular PMLN was at that time.
And but how unpopular.
And how unpopular PTI had become.
Right.
But with the, you know, the brief period they ruled, PDM government led by PMLN. So that has really put a big dent on PMLN, number one. Number two, the narrative they had been, you know, they had earlier, that was much different. Vote ko izzat do and all those things. So people know that.
So the challenges overall are the same for the PPP.
Yeah, and the thing is, but PPP has a different scenario.
If
because
you see
they
what
have, you know,
said, she said that, you know, they were very much a part of the PDM. They were very much a part of the government.
PDM, but they have a stronghold in Sindh, and certainly, I mean, we know maybe they would have, you know, they grab.
Do you think they have a strong hold in South? We saw the Jalsa today also.
No, I'm saying in Sindh.
Yes.
In Sindh, of course, and the space that has been, you know, left because of PTI's, you know, situation in Sindh, that might also benefit PPP, you know, in Sindh. So they have a different.
So we might look at a provincial kind of.
This is what we have been seeing, you know, for the last 1-2 elections, that PPP has, you know, it's more focused on Sindh, and that is where they have been ruling, and that is their focus as well, you know.
Fair enough. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us today. Irfan Ghauri Sahab, thank you for joining us. Zahid Gishkori Sahab, thank you for being with us. Aniq Zafar, thank you for joining us. Syeda, Nosheen, Iftikhar, thank you for being with us today. Of course, closer to the election, as we get closer, day by day, we will be able to perhaps gauge the temperament overall and of the people, and what kind of, you know, which way the wind, so to speak, seems to flow. At this time, of course, it's very clear on what grounds the main political parties stand on. A little closer to the election day, let's see where we are headed. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.